I was had Rico from StreetScores, and this video is going to be quicker than most of my videos that I typically do. To watch the Commanders re-sign linebacker Bobby Wagner. We're going to dive into his deal, how much of a cap space he is, and why he's so important, and why we had to make sure we bring him back on that one-year deal as a locker room leader. Jayden Daniels is excited. We already have his reaction from social media, and I got to also dive into why Bobby Wagner is better than you think, especially with some advanced stats for you. And we're going to do a quick dive into who's next. And also, we got to laugh at Pete Carroll for trying to steal him. And then he ended up staying with the Commanders anyway. But before we get into everything, make sure you still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Again, your one-stop shop for everything Commanders. So make sure you stay tuned. I'm gonna have you updated on everything Commanders free agency, guys we're re-signing, guys that we may sign, rumors, reports, guys that we will sign, that we have signed. I'll have analysis and breakdown and stats and contract breakdowns, cap hits, and all of that for all of those people. Then the draft, all of that. So make sure you stay tuned. Without further ado, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so the first time I saw this was Ian Rappaport when he tweeted, the Commanders are re-signing standout linebacker Bobby Wagner as the leader and playmaker. He will be back with Washington per me and Mike Garafolo. A key piece, Wagner and the team agreed on a strong one-year deal worth up to $9.5 million total with $8 million guaranteed. And Bobby Wagner represented himself on the deal. He is his own agent, so he gets all of that money. Every penny is going to Bobby Wagner. And just to let you know again, it is a $9.5 million deal, $8 million guarantee, which means he's only an $8 million cap hit. We're going to dive into that soon, but I also want to point out the fact that he is still 34 years old. But as great as he was last year, I'm just going to assume he'll at least be somewhat similar to that this upcoming year. No, he's not necessarily playing like he did in his prime, especially when we're talking about in coverage specifically. But as a run stopper, leader, quarterback of the defense, he still has it even at the age of 34. And he played 99% of the snaps last year for us. Imagine trying to replace 99% of linebacker snaps this offseason. I love Nick Bolton. I like the idea of a Dre Greenlaw. Maybe we'll still look into those guys. We'll talk about that a little later, but right now we're here to be excited about the fact that we did at least re-sign Bobby Wagner. We also went and re-signed our kicker. Probably talked about that in another video, but I wanted to go ahead and get this done real quick with the Bobby Wagner thing. That's why this is going to be pretty short and shorter than I normally would, because under normal circumstances I would go ahead and include the fact that we re-signed Zane Gonzalez. I probably would have talked about us potentially going and getting Evan Ingram, especially after we missed out on Christian Kirk going from a Jaguars receiver to a Jaguars tight end. But we're here to focus and celebrate solely on the Bobby Wagner re-signing, and that's nearly, just to let you know, with the $8 million cap hit that he's going to be, that's like about 49% of the savings that we're projected to get from cutting Jonathan Allen for like $16.3 million worth of cap space relief. So basically, out of that $16.3 million that we're going to get from either cutting or trading Jonathan Allen, we just basically spent $8 million of that on Bobby Wagner. And I hoped that he would be like a $7.2 million cap hit. Like, that was my prediction, my projection, but it was more so what I was hoping he would sign for. And that I told y'all that in my last mock off season where I did like the mock free agency. I told you who we would re-sign, who we signed from other teams, and then I had a mock draft to go with it. But that's only $0.8 million more than that he actually ended up signing, and I'm cool with that. That's perfectly fine with me. I'm happy that he didn't get up to like $10 million against the cap. I think this deal is even slightly cheaper than what it was last year for him. So just $8 million against the cap is not bad for Bobby Wagner with him going into 34 years old. And this is your locker room leader right here. This is arguably your team leader. He and Jayden Daniels are probably neck and neck as far as leaders go. Jayden Daniels on the offense and Bobby Wagner on the defense. And remember, he was a second-team All-Pro last season. Not only did he lead our team in tackles, but he was a second-team All-Pro. We're not just talking about anybody. We're not talking about a guy that was maybe voted by the fans as like a Pro Bowler. We're talking about a guy that was voted by other NFL players, coaches, and all of those guys that felt like this guy is worthy of second team All-Pro, which proves that he did play very well for us. And shouts out to Ethan Goodell. He said, massive news for the Commanders ahead of free agency opening next week. Bobby Wagner was a must-keep for Washington. Props to Adam Peters and his staff for getting the deal done, especially before free agency started, before Bobby Wagner even had a chance to hit the open market. But we already kind of saw this, like the writing on the wall. It was on the way, because when Josh Harris held his press conference after the season, and he talked about like the name will stay, we're gonna get a new jersey, all of that type of stuff, and basically addressing the team. We plan on being better. We want to go. We're trying to compete for a Super Bowl. Bobby Wagner was there. I believe Bobby Wagner was the only Commanders player standing around and behind Josh Harris during the whole thing. So like you could just already tell that Josh Harris already felt like we were bringing him back, and it was just basically a matter of getting the numbers right. But Bobby Wagner was never going anywhere. And then shouts out to Seawall Sports, because she pointed out the fact that Dan Quinn brought Bobby Wagner up at the whole combine week during interviews, and like it was like unprompted too. Like he literally just decided to bring up Bobby Wagner just off of the strength. And so it was really, the writing was on the wall. There was no reason to overthink this. It was getting done. And also, going back to Jayden Daniels, this is his best friend / mentor on the team. He has his best friend back. Mentor-wise, Jayden Daniels is even credited with Bobby Wagner with a lot of things, like especially, like he said, like Bobby Wagner specifically helped him with how he treats his body. Like the work ethic, the body, the treatment, like after practice, after games, how he eats and things like that. He gave Bobby Wagner all of the credit for that. But they're also best friends as well. I mean, take a look at this video right here, earlier this year.
Nobody cares about it, and a year from now, y'all won't even remember. You know what I'm saying? So we just going.
Yeah, that's what happens when people know how to read, okay?
Sorry. I mean, we know you get your own time, your own slot. It's just crazy. Y'all see how he is? It's just crazy, man.
Pull your pants up.
Bobby Wagner is going. This is how we starting the new year off.
Why change? Why change?
Why change?
I mean, they more so act like brothers. Like Bobby Wagner's the older brother, Jayden Daniels is the younger brother. That's literally how they act. It's crazy with the age gap that they have, how close they are. And then Jayden Daniels even went to social media and celebrated himself, as you can see on the screen right now. If anybody's excited about getting Bobby Wagner back, it's your top 5 quarterback in the NFL, your franchise quarterback, your elite franchise quarterback, Jayden Daniels. And if Jayden Daniels is happy, I'm happy. He was excited about the Deebo Samuel trade. He's excited about Bobby Wagner coming back. And again, if Jayden Daniels is happy, I'm with it. Also, the Commanders absolutely love Bobby Wagner. And I don't think y'all remember, it was a story from Joe Witt Jr. last season. Shouts out to Tyler Dunn for pointing this out on Twitter. Joe Witt Jr. said, not that anyone's in a rush to get home. Through the W's and L's, players have only grown closer, to the point where players now choose to stick around the facility when the work's done, simply because they enjoy just being around each other. Witt was the cornerbacks coach on the 2010 Green Bay Packers team that got blistering hot late in the season and won the Super Bowl. He sees the same DNA in this group. On Tuesdays, an off day, veteran linebacker Bobby Wagner started studying film at the facility like a coach. Soon enough, all of the linebackers were joining him. Last Saturday, Joe Witt Jr. looked inside the defensive meeting room and class was again in session. Wagner gathered the whole unit together. Didn't tell anybody, Witt said. He called a meeting. They were in there doing it on their own, unquote. No coaches involved at all. That's the type of leader that Bobby Wagner is. He sets the standard, and everybody trying to keep up with him they're also becoming better players on and off the field. First guy in, last guy out, extra film studies beyond what the coaches ask of them type of guys. And that's infectious. It's going to spread throughout the locker room. You have Deebo Samuel that's going to bring some of the confidence, some of the walk it while you talk it to him, some of the bravado. Then you got Bobby Wagner doing stuff like that. So we have all sorts of leaders all throughout the team. I'm excited about this next year, man. And then Mark Bullock brings up a good point too. Wagner played far better than I expected him to last year. I'd agree. Still a good run defender, and the Commanders managed to mitigate his coverage concerns by blitzing him a lot. I think that was a great strategy by Joe Witt Jr. there. Joe Witt Jr. deserves a lot of credit for that, which he was good at. Bobby Wagner was good at blitzing, but his leadership is huge in that locker room. Had to bring him back. I agree. And then also, again, I'm happy that this Bobby Wagner deal got done before free agency kicked off. He's still one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL. He's literally our best linebacker. Again, he was a second-team All-Pro. We should know that by now. And he's easily the best linebacker the Commanders, the Redskins, anybody that the Burgundy of Gold have had since London Fletcher. Literally. since 2012. 2013 maybe. Him and Frankie Louisville, I love that duo, even though I think Jordan McGee is going to be heavily involved in that rotation. I'm expecting big things out of him, just like the Commanders are as well. Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Joe Wood Jr., they're really high on Jordan McGee. I feel like they feel like we're pretty solid with this linebacker group as far as 2025 goes. Then they'll worry about, if Wagner can even still play 2026 and beyond. But 2025, they feel like they're set. And mind you, shouts out to Mason Kinahan for bringing up these stats. Bobby Wagner in 2024, he led the team in snaps with 1,258. 108 tackles, led the team there. 56 run stops, led the team. 88.3 defense grade, led the team. 91.2 run defense grade, led the team. 86.3 tackling grade, led the team. Pro Bowler, second team All-Pro, ageless. That's the type of guy that you just re-signed today, before free agency even started. And when I was doing my calculations for this is how much cap space we have, towards trying to sign outside free agents from other teams, I already had Bobby Wagner pretty much calculated in there. I just already assumed it would get done, and now it's done. And just to mind you, this guy had an 88.3 Pro Football Focus grade last year. That was third among all linebackers in the entire NFL. And again, even outside of Pro Football Focus, feeling like he was the third best linebacker in the NFL. Fellow players felt like he was the second best linebacker just off of the fact that he was second team All-Pro. And so now my question is, does this eliminate the chance of us potentially going and getting Nick Bolton at linebacker, or maybe Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers at linebacker? I would say more than likely, especially Nick Bolton, because he probably wants to go somewhere where he can start, whereas Dre Greenlaw, I'm not exactly sure how many snaps he wants and how much he necessarily wants to start, but I'm pretty sure he wants his respect, money and contract wise. And right now the 49ers are lowballing him. I plan on doing a video on that. I've already been working on that behind the scenes. The 49ers are kind of doing them dirty right now. It's pretty underrated. People really aren't talking about it enough, how the 49ers are really doing Dre Greenlaw dirty. And maybe just off of the disrespect, he may leave, and who knows if the Commanders can still be a landing spot. But I'm pretty sure after re-signing Bobby Wagner, there is no Nick Bolton, and I still highly doubt that Dre Greenlaw is possible. And then again, especially since John Common said multiple times this offseason, and even going back into late regular season, that this team is very high on last year rookie 5th round pick linebacker Jordan McGee, who did pretty good when he was actually healthy. He was just hurt a lot last year. So they're really excited about the linebacker trio of Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louisville, and Jordan McGee. They're higher on those guys than probably our fan base is as a whole. So be on the lookout for that. I love Jordan McGee. Y'all, if y'all go back last year after we drafted him, and my whole 30-something minute breakdown of him, and I brought up how much of a freak athlete he was, one of the most athletic, not only linebackers in the entire draft class, but players, period. One of the most athletic players out of the entire draft class, regardless of position, regardless of round. I'm really excited about Jordan McGee's potential. Frankie Louisville was raving about him all offseason, all throughout training camp, or before training camp. I think it was OTAs, mandatory minicamp, something like that. Frankie Louisville just couldn't stop talking about hey, this guy is beyond his years mentally. And then on top of that, I kept bringing up how much of an athletic freak he is. This sounds like the type of guy that could probably break onto the scene and surprise a lot of people as a 5th round steal. It didn't necessarily work out like that in 2024 because injuries held him back, but I think in 2025 you'll see why they're comfortable with Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louisville, and Jordan McGee as their three-headed trio at linebacker. But also, I want to take some time to laugh at Pete Carroll for really trying it at the combine now. He really tried to recruit and steal our boy, and I'm pretty sure he did some things behind the scenes talking to him, maybe called him and was like, hey, how's your dad and all of that. Because you got to remember, Pete Carroll and Bobby Wagner go way back. Pete Carroll drafted Bobby Wagner in 2012, and then he played under Pete Carroll from 2012 to 2021. Then he left in 2022, went right back in 2023. And so they have a really long, close relationship there. But Bobby Wagner wanting to stay with the Commanders, loving what he's built here. Dan Quinn's here. Ken Norton Jr., he loves him. Now, he goes back to the Seattle Seahawks days with them as well, as long as Dan Quinn, of course. And then also, I think he's finishing up at Howard with his business degree and things like that. So there were a lot of things that pointed towards Bobby Wagner staying. But again, Pete Carroll at the combine, unprompted, out of nowhere, just brought up Bobby Wagner. He talked about how he was happy for Dan Quinn and Bobby Wagner after 2024 success, and said that Bobby Wagner's bond with Jayden is huge for the team. And then at the end, he just randomly said, quote, he's a free agent too, unquote. Thanks for that, Pete Carroll. Thanks for telling us that. So we clearly knew where you were mentally on the whole situation, trying to steal Bobby Wagner back for another year. You had him from 2012 all the way through 2021. Then he left for a year, came back for a year, and then he just left for another year with the Commanders. He tried to bring him back again. No, sir. No, thanks. That's our boy. But then again, Pete Carroll isn't with the Seahawks anymore. Now he's with the Raiders. So he was trying to recruit Bobby Wagner. Hey, come back to the West Coast with me. It may not be the Seattle Seahawks this time, but it's the Raiders. I mean, this guy has spent his entire life on the West Coast, man. This guy is born and raised in California. Then he went to college at Utah State. Then he was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks there till 2021. Again, that 1 year he left Seattle, he went to the Rams. Then he went back to Seattle, and then this past 2024 season is the first time Bobby Wagner has ever not been on the West Coast. So I'm pretty sure Pete Carroll was like, hey, the Raiders, still California, still West Coast, but it didn't work, dog. It didn't work, and I love that, man. Shouts out to Bobby Wagner for making the right decision. Shouts out for the Commanders for making the right decision as well. And then also, again, of course, we knew this was coming. Now who's next? I feel like immediately Zach Ertz is on the way, but I would also throw Tress Way in there. We'll see about Jeremy Chin. I would love to bring back Jeremy Chin, but at the same time, there's a Talanoa Hufanga out there if you do not bring back Jeremy Chin. But just off of continuity, I love Jeremy Chin. I'm really loyal to him. I love his potential. I think he's only going to get better as he plays more and more in this defense. So I'm excited about Jeremy Chin. Bring him back. But if you don't, Talanoa Hufanga is a great consolation prize, and I feel like a lot of people out there probably feel like Talanoa Hufanga is better than Jeremy Chin. I'm happy either way. I'm just leaning more so towards Jeremy Chin because at my core, I'm just a really loyal guy. And if it's comparable, I'll go with the guy that, you know, that is the loyalty choice over the new guy. But then again, Talanoa Hufanga probably loves Adam Peters to the point that maybe we get both. Who knows? And then, of course, we'll see about Marcus Mariota, even though I think he'll end up leaving to go elsewhere for way more money than we're willing to give him. But bring back Marcus Mariota as well. But I think out of every name, they need like 2024 Commanders free agent going into this 2025 season. I think after Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz has to be a priority. Honestly, I feel like Zach Ertz is more of a priority than Bobby Wagner, to be honest, because there's other like linebacker options, again, like Nick Bolton or Dre Greenlaw we could have brought in. I'm like, okay, we may have lost leadership, but at least we have a lot of talent. Whereas tight end, we don't bring back Zach Ertz, it's ugly for us unless we plan on drafting one in like the first or second round, but we still got to address edge rusher, running back, so many needs. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think Zach Ertz is definitely your next highest priority. I want to see a notification by the time I'm done recording this video that we re-signed him. I want to look stupid by putting this video out and then we just re-sign Zach Ertz. That's cool with me. I'll look stupid as long as we secure Zach Ertz back, because Jayden Daniels' best friend is Bobby Wagner, but his favorite target outside of Terry McLaurin last year was Zach Ertz. Very dependable. Let's get him back. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please step on that like button, step on the subscription button, step on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Definitely make sure you have that bell next to the subscription button clicked in, because every time there's any sort of Commanders news, even if it's just a rumor or report, I will be doing videos, even if they have to be shorter videos like this one. So be on the lookout. I'm gonna have y'all covered everything free agency, everything draft, everything burgundy and gold. I have a stadium update for y'all that I'm waiting to get to y'all. It's just been so many other things to talk about. I haven't been able to get it to y'all. So be on the lookout for all of the videos that are on the way. We're talking about multiple videos a day, especially once the legal tampering period starts up and we're signing guys left and right. Expect a full-blown breakdown for every single player we bring in, no matter how insignificant you may feel like they are. Even if they're like a fifth string linebacker or running back, we're still going to talk about it, man. So really appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. I'm going to catch y'all later. Definitely let me know in the comment section too how you feel about this whole Bobby Wagner re-signing. How do you feel about that? And then also, who would be your priority after Bobby Wagner? Who's the guy that you want to re-sign the most out of all of the guys that we should bring back? Of course, Tress Way feels like an automatic at punter, but we're kind of excluding him. But yeah, man, let me know how you feel about everything. I appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.